And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at a Euro game. In specific, we're going to take a look at Agora, which is published by Spielworks, and I believe distributed by Queen Games in the United States. Now, this is a game about debate and rhetoric in ancient Greece, the Greek city-states, in which each player is going to be controlling a group of citizens who are trying to influence different parts of politics in the city in order to score the most victory points. And increasing your rhetoric with each of your different citizens is going to make it easier to do so, going to market, picking up goods, contributing to the temple, and hopefully controlling the court either as the prosecutor or as the judge, or sometimes both. So real quick, why don't we take a look at what you're going to get inside of this game. We'll see how it plays, and then we'll come back here at the end and get my opinions on Agora. So here you can see the components all set up for Agora. Now I've set it up for a two-player game, but the only thing that really varies is the number of spaces that are available for worker placement with more players. You'll see that there's 2 spaces available for 2 players here, and then 3 and 4 player spaces available the higher you get. And the same is true around the board. More spaces available for more players, but generally the gameplay will be the same. Each player has their own board here, and you can see this board shows each of the players' citizens, A, B, C, D, and E, and their starting rhetoric of 1. So they're basic debaters at the start of the game. They're each also going to have the tokens of the player to the left of them, to the right of them. So you're going to pass a set of these little tokens to the player on your left, and they're going to control those tokens for the game, just so that you don't cheat by selecting them intentionally when we're doing some randomization later in the round. So each of these citizens is basically their own character with their own rhetoric that you'll be leveling up throughout the game. On the board here, we're looking at 5 different worker placement areas. And when you place, you have to place to the furthest left in some of them, like these down here, whereas in Area 2, you can place in any order you'd like, but Area 3, you have to place from the left again. On Area 4, you have to place from the left again, and Area 5, you can basically place wherever you want as long as there's a spot open, which in the 2-player game, there's only 1. When you're placing on these, and you're going to place around the table in order, you're going to be placing your workers secretly, face down, so that your other players don't know which worker you're placing. This matters because rhetoric is going to be tiebreakers for several of these, and is going to determine the orders for some of the other ones. This first action here is going to the market, and when you place here, you're going to be placing here to get cards that correspond to goods, either stone, brick, or wood. And you'll see stone, brick, or wood are currently the resources available in the 3 different markets. Based on what spot you place on, you're either trying to get 2 cards or 1 card, and remember you have to start from the left and place to the right. So typically speaking, the earlier you place, the more cards you're going to get, although in the 3-player game you'll see placing 4th is actually going to get you 2 cards as well. So there's a timing aspect to this. When you place, the higher rhetoric your guy has, the earlier he's going to get his cards, which is important because these cards may run out throughout the game, and if your guy has a lower rhetoric value on this track, he may get kind of screwed on the cards that he's supposed to get because they run out before he's supposed to take his. So you have to pay attention to how many cards are left and how high of a rhetoric guy you want to place out here. The next area here is going to be a swap, basically, where you can swap cards that you've obtained in order to get other cards. At a 3-for-2 trade, 3 of the same good for 2 of a different good, or 2-to-1 trade, 2 of a good for 1 other good. This will be important for contributing to the temples over here later. This next area up here is going to be for increasing the rhetoric of your guys. What guy you place here will determine which one goes up in rhetoric. So if I were to place A on this spot here, and then pay a card when we resolved it, any card, it doesn't matter which one of these goods I discard, he's going to go up 2 rhetoric, which will make him better at taking actions and better at tiebreakers at specific areas of the board. The next couple areas only increase your rhetoric by 1, but the 4th one, again, increases it by 2. So when to place your workers out here and trying to figure out how many people will place between you and your next placement is important for trying to increase your rhetoric on the board, remembering that you have to discard a card for each guy that you want to increase. Area 4 is going to be the court, and this is kind of a key area of the game, at least in terms of getting some bonuses and losing rhetoric and gaining victory points. Right here, you're going to place around the table, and you're going to be placing, again, your guys secretly face down. And when we reveal these, and we're going to reveal each area in order, 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. When we reveal these, you're going to count up the total rhetoric of each of your guys that's in that area. Whoever has the most rhetoric placed in this area is going to become the prosecutor, and they're going to be prosecuting one of these vendors that's in the market because they're corrupt for some reason or another. If there's a tie in here for the most rhetoric for a player, it goes to the character, the guy, that has the highest rhetoric, and then on down the next highest rhetoric, and so forth and so on. So, you want to be the prosecutor because you want to put somebody up in order to try and get victory points and prosecute them and get them sent to jail. After we've done that, we're going to go over here, and each player is going to secretly randomize these tiles that they have for one of the other players, A, B, C, D, and E. They're going to choose 3 of them, so we'll say that these were randomized. We're just going to grab 3, this one, and this one for green, and we'll grab this one, and this one for yellow. And we would then flip these over once everybody has randomized theirs. And we're going to take a look at what we got. So we'd see that we have D, B, and C for yellow, and B, A, and E for green. Those players would then count up the total rhetoric of those guys from their board over here. So if, green had increased, maybe they've increased E to 3, A is at 2, and this one's at 2, and this guy's increased this one to 4, and then 2. You get the idea. So we'll see D, B, and C. B plus D plus C is a total of 4, versus B, A, and E is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Green is the clear leader here, and they would become the judge. So green may be the judge, and it's possible that green is also the prosecutor. Anyhow, the prosecutor, before revealing the judge, would choose one of these guys to try and prosecute. Maybe he chooses the brick guy, flipping him over. Then, the judge is going to decide whether or not this guy is guilty. This will matter because players will have placed their workers in these lines. So let's say maybe only yellow has a guy in this line. And green was both the prosecutor and the judge, selecting this guy intentionally. He decides that this guy is guilty. If he's guilty, you'll see that the prosecutor will get 1 victory point because the judge has decided that the guy he put up to be essentially impeached is guilty. So the judge would get a victory point, and green is the judge in this case, so he'll go up 1 victory point. Indeed, also, the judge here will get a victory point for essentially impeaching somebody or kicking them out of the market. He'll go up a victory point. This guy will get sent to jail. And a new guy will get drawn out from these piles and placed into that market. Now we have a wood vendor. For being the judge and for kicking somebody else out and getting a new market stall, this guy is happy and will give the judge 2 wood from his supply. So the judge gets a victory point, 2 wood, and if he was the prosecutor as well, which he was in this case, he got another victory point. If the prosecutor puts somebody up and the judge decides not to impeach them, not to find them guilty, the prosecutor is going to lose a victory point instead. So they would go down 1 victory point because they put somebody up and they were found innocent. The judge, however, is going to get 1 card from that person that he found innocent as a reward or as a bribe or whatever you want to call it, a thanks for finding him not guilty. So this is kind of a major area of the game for getting extra resources and for accumulating victory points. The final area of the board is contributing to the temple. Now this really has nothing to do with rhetoric. You can place your guys here as long as there's an open spot. And what you need to do is contribute the goods that are pictured up above here. You'll see that there's stone and stone pictured right now. The number you need to contribute of each good is shown on the level you're trying to go to. So for right now, it's 2 of one good and 1 of the other, which in this case is 3 stone. But let's say, for example, we had wood and stone. It could be 2 wood and 1 stone, or 2 stone and 1 wood that you need to contribute to go up a level, and that will be a victory point at the end of the game. The next level would be 3 of one of the 2 goods, and then 2 and 2, 3 and 2, 4 and 2, and 5 and 2 in order to get all the way to the top, which would actually trigger the end of the game. If anybody contributes these will cycle out, and the next round will have a different set of goods, in this case brick and stone, which would then require the next step for you to move up, or for the yellow player, 2 brick and 1 stone, or 2 stone and 1 brick, while as green would need 3 of one of the 2. And that will change as the game goes on, as long as somebody contributes each round. After that, you're essentially going to take all of your guys back. You're going to reset the board. You're going to, of course, move everybody off, and you're going to get ready for the next round. And you're going to continue on in this way, trying to score victory points by moving up on this track, or by controlling this court over here until one of 3 things happens. And that will be either one player gets all the way to the top of this track, triggering the end of the game, or one player gets 2 citizens all the way to 9 rhetoric, or 6 people get impeached and put into jail over here, which will trigger the end of the game. At the end of the game, you get points for the levels you've built on the monuments over here, the victory points you've accumulated throughout the game, and the victory points that are shown on the board for the rhetoric levels of each of your guys. The higher the rhetoric, the more points you'll get. Up to 5 will get you 1, up to 8 will get you 2, and all the way up to 9 will get you 3 victory points for each of your guys. Whoever manages to get the most points in this manner will be the winner. And there you have it. That is Agora. A big fan of the theme of this game, wasn't so much a fan of the gameplay. And I'll explain why. So the theme is kind of cool. I like the fact that you're trying to increase your debate or your rhetoric ability of all of your different citizens, and then utilize those citizens at various different places in order to get higher in turn order, in order to get goods, and then spend those goods at the temple, or use your guys randomly, somewhat randomly, and that's a problem, in the court in order to try and influence various things, send those marketeers to jail, and hopefully get some resources if you're controlling part of that different court proceeding. But overall, the game kind of runs itself, I would say. I think it falls prey to the fact that I believe, and of course I'm not going to say that I'm an overbranching expert at this, and I've played it so many times that I guarantee that this is the only strategy, but from what I've seen with my plays is that there is a strategy that I think is going to be strong and kind of dictate the game, and that's if you don't increase your rhetoric, you're simply not going to profit in this game. And so the first kind of common move, or the first kind of necessary move, is to jump up, increase that rhetoric as fast as possible in order to get as many of your people having high rhetoric, and then use that rhetoric to your benefit. Because high rhetoric is going to get you benefits of being the prosecutor in the court. And then the higher your average rhetoric is, the more likely you are the judge in the court. And then if you're both, then you get to make all of the decisions, removing some rhetoric from some of the other players who get caught in a scandal in the market, either kicking the person out of the market, getting some coin or some goods from the new person who goes into the market, or getting victory points by keeping the person who is in the market and saying they're not guilty. So rhetoric kind of drives the whole game, and you kind of need to increase that rhetoric in order to do anything else. And so I think everyone, once you've got a seasoned group of players, is going to jump right on that option at the beginning of the game, and whoever kind of gets to it first is going to triumph if their luck is any good. So I think it falls prey to that quite a bit. You have to watch out for that in any type of game, and I think this one just kind of has that strategy where you're going to need to do one thing first, and that's going to drive the rest of the game. So take that with a grain of salt. Like I said, I'm not a super pro on the game or anything like that, but that is what I've seen. I definitely don't think it's the greatest of Euro games in terms of options. Again, like the theme, wish there was a game that perhaps did it a little bit better that I knew of, but overall, not one that I'm going to recommend overall. That is Agora from Spielworks and distributed by Queen Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.